You know, in every great Western, one of the classic icons of a Western is they form a posse and they go after the bad guy. Now, there are Westerns where one guy goes after the bad guys by himself and he ends up dead every single time. That's like, what's that series, John, on Netflix or whatever it was that was in 4K and it's about the Mormons?
Godless.
Godless. You know, that one, I love that sheriff who goes after him by himself and he's a dead man. As soon as he, and I don't even remember if he dies, but it seems like he would be. So don't go alone and get
Yeah.
killed. Go in a posse. So that's what
They
we're
never
talking about today.
die. If they're bad guys, they never die. If it's the Clint Eastwood ones where he's already kind of
That's
a
true. He's
an
already,
anti-hero.
but see, that's kind
But
of the cultural mystique that we want to break through today because a lot of guys think, well, I'm supposed to be Clint Eastwood. I'm supposed to be
mhm.
Dirty Harry. I'm not supposed to need support. I'm not supposed to be needy. So we're going to get into all of this because I've had a hair on my chest. I only have one, and I have a hair on my chest about men needing a posse.
Yeah.
It has been such a big part of my own life. So today we're talking about uh, building a posse and having a posse in your life.
And this, just to, I know you got the hair on your chest for the word, but just to break it down, we're
Well, we're
talking about expressed mission,
yes,
expressed. The group knows that they are in it. So
yes.
you've got
Nobody,
friendships that
nobody's
happen.
like, I thought I was going out for coffee. I ended up in a posse and
I
I
ended
got
up in
shot
a,
at. Yeah,
I ended up in a canyon facing down the
right.
Stinky Pete
That's
gang.
was there really a Sneaky Pete?
No, I don't know. I was
Well,
just
because
saying
there's a
stuff.
Mexican place out here in Colorado that people love called Sneaky Pete's.
No, funny.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure there was.
it's
I'm
like
sure
a
there's a
Chipotle
thousand Sneaky
ripoff.
Pete's.
Well, I wonder if Sneaky Pete was really a dude or anyway, here we
Don't
go.
worry
So,
about that.
John,
Well, just to say that that's what we're talking about
yes,
is
and we
expressed
will,
expectations and
yes,
bonds and intention.
we have a formal definition for you in quarter one. John, walk through, or in quarter two, walk through the four quarters with us, John, and then we'll dive right in to some fun.
All righty. As always, our conversations follow a four-quarter format. The first quarter this week is the problem, why most men are lone rangers. Second quarter is the vision, what a posse actually is,
With a definition.
with a definition. Third, the barriers, why most men don't start. And fourth, the path, how to build one, how to build a posse.
That's right. So we're going to help you if you have any interest in this subject at all, and we challenge you if you say, "Don't need one. I like being by myself. I'm not interested in this topic." Listen anyway, because we think we can persuade you otherwise. All right, John. We have our opening shtick, and we thought it would be fun to name our three favorite obscure bands.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go first.
All right, I'll go first. Bands, we can. Sometimes the lines are thin. All right, we're just trying to connect things however we can. But band, it's a good. It's a posse into itself, a
It
musical
is.
troupe.
They have a shared mission and an intentionality. We're here to make music, make money, whatever. And it's a great description because bands seem to have a lifespan. Like it's
Mm,
rare for a band to last decades because
yeah.
they split up over who's in charge here or who's more popular. And this can happen in a posse too. So that's why this is really a good metaphor for the whole thing. So tell me, John, about three obscure bands that you think make beautiful music.
All right, I had a little index in my head of how obscure and how much do I love them. So some bands I loved more than these, but they weren't obscure enough.
Gotcha.
And some were more obscure, but I didn't love them very much. This is
Right.
kind of like there's like a little diagonal on the
Okay.
chart.
This is the intersection of
Yes.
obscurity and wonderfulness.
Yeah. First one I love, and he's very obscure. His name is Jackson Lynch, but he's in a few bands. He has his own thing. He's in one called Jackson and the Janks, and he's in one called the Downhill Strugglers. And he
Okay.
does true old time.
Yeah.
So bluegrass today, there's a lot of different kinds of bluegrass, mostly born in like the 50s is like the bluegrass you think of.
Yeah.
Old time music is a whole other thing, and I love it to death. And he's got an incredible voice. I love this guy. That's the first one. Next would be more niche than my favorite, but still very good, is a bassist named Sam Wilkes, who always performs with another Sam Gendel. And they
Oh,
do don't judge me on these, please. This is weird music. This is ambient music. They do very filler ambient experimental music. I found an album of theirs during COVID and during the springtime, and it was like transcendent listening to this stuff. It's very interesting. If you're into weird stuff, you might like that one. And on the weird trend, third would be Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. Uh, with a caveat, I'm only talking about one album. They are a doom metal band,
Uh,
but they have an album. They do a concept albums. One of their concept albums, which is to say the whole album is going to be like with one kind of vision.
okay.
And my favorite is it's a soundtrack to an Italian horror film that does not exist. They basically made up an Italian horror film from the 70s
Yeah,
and then made a soundtrack for it.
that is hilarious.
It's called Nel Ora Blue, and it's insane. It's so good. I listen to it when I'm writing a lot. And don't call the white van to come and get me with my, straight jacket before you listen to it. It's very good.
And it's punk. What did you call it? Punk? What?
I think I hate the genres. I think
Yeah,
it's doom metal
doom
because of
metal.
the slowness of it and
Oh,
the
it's slow.
well, it's very like very like oh, and
Oh,
low fidelity. But I don't really love or understand a lot of the genre delineations.
well, you crushed it on obscure. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, talking about I looked at the view count of all or the monthly listener count on Spotify for all your bands, and I gotta say, not very obscure.
Well, they're obscure to me, and most people I ask, hey, do you know this band? They say no. So that's why I would call them obscure. But I added an honorable mention to a really obscure band, John.
Okay.
So that'll be my redemption. My first one is St. Paul and the Broken Bones. This I
Great
stumbled
name.
into. It's a great name, man. That has got to be the band name of the year. And they do Southern Soul. The next one is Lake Street Dive. I really like these because there's one song of theirs I dig, which is Tell 'em I'm a Great Kisser. And
Mm.
it is a phenomenal song. That's American multi-genre band. And then the Teskey Brothers. The Teskey Brothers are an Australian blues rock band, and all of these show up on my Lake Street Dive Spotify channel.
Oh, I love those things.
Yeah, they're
It's
great
nice.
because I find new music that way. That's how I found my way to Amos. What's his name?
Lee.
Lee Amos. Amos Lee. Amos Lee. Yep. And the Tedeschi Trucks Band is another phenomenal
Yeah.
in that genre. So here's my obscure, just to get you off my case about I'm not obscure enough. Cadillac Jack and the Hubcaps. Cadillac Jack and the
Terrific name.
Hubcaps. It was a great name, and they were a band when I was in high school. My first 3 years of high school, we had every Friday night in football season, we had a victory dance. We didn't have a lot of victories, but we had a victory dance anyway. And we had live bands at those until my senior year. Then they went to DJs. And Cadillac Jack and the Hubcaps was one of the bands. Another one that came was Sparky's Magic Echo. Uh, but Cadillac Jack and Hubcaps is pretty good. All right,
That's you win because that's so obscure it's not on Spotify. That
there you
one
go.
was they don't exist anymore.
I win.
So you win.
Okay, let's talk about posses, John, and why most men are alone. Why is it rare for a man to have a posse?
Two reasons. There are two general kind of men, I think. One, it is the general plague of men to be alone, I think, in the fallen world and especially in the Western post-industrial world.
Yeah.
It is the general tilt of man in our context to be alone. And that's for one of two reasons or both is that he wants to be is one option.
Yeah.
So based things we're going to get into about how he values or doesn't value openness and vulnerability and being a burden,
Mm-hmm.
or that he just values his own independence. Get out of my business. You do your thing, I'll do my thing.
Yeah.
And for himself, if you're going to lose, it's on your own merits. If you're going to win, it's on your own merits. That whole thing. The second is men that deeply desire this kind of thing and can't find it because our culture is so atomized and so individualistic.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes it's a little mixture of both, or men aren't aware to the extent to which they've been programmed by the culture to be
Yeah.
so individualistic.
Yeah.
But though, to me, that's the general two reasons why men don't have these kinds of relationships.
I think I like that, and I think that's accurate. The culture uh, personifies the hero The hero is almost always desperately alone.
Hmm.
And I think that the subtle messaging there is that real men don't need this. And then the guys who think, well, I would love to have it, but I don't know how to make it happen. I've been doing some just spontaneous surveys, anecdotal, as I go through my life for the last 2 weeks, asking men, how many friends you got? Do you have a lot of
Hmm.
friends? Do you have, and most have several acquaintances and maybe one real friend.
Wow.
So it is the world we live in, the cultural messaging of self-sufficiency and independence, or I'm just not interested because it does feel risky. Why, John? Why would a guy say, "Hey, thanks, but no thanks, I'm full," even if they're totally alone? Why would a guy do that? Why would he want that?
Uh, Great question. I think conflicting asks on his time. So if
Mm,
he's busy professionally and he has a family, there's not a lot of rope left to just go,
right.
tossing out. Uh, I think it seems, let me know how you feel about this. It seems generational in some ways. So the generation above me didn't seem as isolated, so that when they did self-isolate, they weren't as in pain because they had a choice. They grew up in pre-social media age, so they have these
Mm-hmm.
school friendships. Then they get out of school, and men. I'm not saying they had great social lives because even the generations above me were very outside of school, had this same kind of friend circle issue that you just described.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one good one, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like those men were more okay with that. Where now the isolation is to the extent that men are now less likely to self isolate and more likely to feel helpless but want to connect. Does that ring true to you?
I think it does, and I think the guys who have, and these are typically a little bit older guys
Yeah.
that say, "I don't need them. I don't need
Right.
them."
Yeah. Yeah.
They do. You hear in their tone and stuff that they've been hurt by relationships,
Mm.
or they feel not wanted, um, personality quirks or whatever, and they feel like it's just not possible. So it's like, I didn't want those grapes anyway. They were probably sour.
Sure.
So I think there's some of that as well that can take place.
So it's easier to try and give water to a thirsty guy than convince a guy that he's thirsty, right? So,
Yes.
so what do you say to a guy that's like, I don't need him. I've got everything I need. No, thank you. I'm full.
I would say you're gonna pay a price. There's a cost to this decision of yours. You're not going to have people who push and challenge you, which is maybe part of why you want this. I don't want to be provoked. You're going to have hidden struggles in your life that nobody knows about, and you're only going to be as strong as you can be by yourself.
Mm,
So you're sabotaging what could be more beautiful with your wife or children or community or church or your workplace. You're going to be underdeveloped because there's no way a person can develop themselves. Your character is going to drift. So we really, and God made you. It wasn't Adam that said, "It's not good for me to be alone." It was God who said, "It's not good for you to be alone."
mhm.
I think, too, John, you made me think of another cultural problem that makes this why men are alone. I was thinking about when I was having flashes to Montana while you were talking. When we lived in Montana, those guys had hunting buddies,
Mm.
and that might be all they ever do together is go hunting. But they had a set group of hunting buddies, and they wouldn't hunt with anybody else. People had fishing buddies, and I made me think too of like the Amish or community deal of putting up a pole barn.
Oh yeah.
I watched out in the Montana area where there's no barn, and all of a sudden there is one in a day, because the whole community would come out. They would drop off all the materials, and the whole community come out, and in a single day they would build a pole barn. Church groups used to do more together, potluck meals and hanging out. So a lot of the opportunities for these relationships to form have been taken from us.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So then that's a natural consequence. So like those guys who don't have great friends, but they see their hunting buddies twice a year, say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of juice for the squeeze. That keeps them going for a long time
It
when
does.
they do an inventory of their lives and their social circles. So
Especially if it's a
now,
multi-day hunt because they're sitting
yeah.
around the fire, they're cooking meals.
So
Yeah.
now, without those kinds of activities, and with largely insulated men who have indoor activities or isolated activities, it leads to, we haven't talked a lot about digital friendships, but it leads to a kind of the new hunting buddies
Yep.
are Call of Duty buddies
Yep.
and Fortnite and World of Warcraft, and
And
that that
why is that less potent than the old kind?
I think the same reason. It's tough because I have so many friendships across distance. My brother down where you live,
Mm-hmm.
and some of my friends down there. So we just did. I've mentioned it before. If my music references didn't out me as a big old weird nerd before, I have a D&D group that we play on Zoom
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. I think it's just there's we've talked before about nonverbal communication. It's almost the same thing. Why is talking on the phone worse than talking face to face? Even if
Mm-hmm.
you have a camera, why is that worse than being in the same room? There's like a maybe it's as simple as moving from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions. That you enter an exponentially more real spot space with the person because they are in this same 3 dimensional space as you. I don't have a great answer for that. Do you have any theories?
Well, I have another question that would give you a chance to explore something. You and I, um, and I'll speak for myself, you're one of my best friends.
Hmm.
And went for 13
Me too.
years, we lived in Washington together. And some of that you were in college, whatever. But, for a long stretch, we had lunch every Sunday with our families. And we had coffee, an hour to 2 hour coffee at least once a week. That's face to face. That's things. So you and I try really hard to stay connected. We FaceTime, we do Marco Polo.
Mhm.
What's different about our relationship because of this distance, John, for you than what was? How 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 is the weight and value and contribution of this relationship changed because of
Yeah.
proximity and digital only connection?
So what you and I now are forced to do, and what a lot of young men do with their online friendships, is synthesizing a ubiquitous relationship. So when we lived, you were 5 minutes down the road from me after we moved here to Nino.
Yeah,
That's a level of, hey, the game's on. Do you guys want to come over for dinner and watch the game?
that's true. Yeah.
Hey, do you have a free 45 minutes? I'm at the Starbucks. You want to come hang out?
Yeah.
That so
There's a
now,
farmer's market Saturday morning.
yeah,
Let's meet at the farmer's market.
yeah. That level of ubiquity you
What does
can
ubiquity mean? I'm going to show my ignorance here.
no, I might be misusing it. I think like it's just in the language sense, a ubiquitous term is something that everyone knows.
Oh,
Or if it's a ubiquitous technology, a cell phone is ubiquitous technology,
okay.
as opposed to like a free rider or
Yeah.
something more niche.
Okay.
So by that I mean, and I might be misusing it. By that I mean a relationship that is so close, a life that is lived so close to yours that all of those opportunities are just they just pop up.
It's embodied.
Yeah, yeah, rooted, embodied.
Yeah.
So digitally, you make an appointment. You
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, we're going to play
Yeah.
games every Friday night, and you can try your best to manufacture that kind of closeness.
Mm-hmm.
And single guys can do this a lot easier. They've got less pulls on them, so a lot of guys will hop on every night and play for 1 to 2 hours with the same group.
Yeah.
And I'd go as far as to say that's better than nothing.
Yep. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not great for your
I
body,
don't want
maybe,
to
but
I don't want to say there's no value there because I know there is.
yeah, yeah. But it's all an effort to replicate a more human rooted way of living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the tough part is, we advocate for taking the reins of your own life, but you can't control the new normal. And the new normal is a million isolated little dots. And you want a constellation. You want the impressionist painting, all those dots to make an image like it used to, or like we
Mm-hmm.
believe it used to. And you can't do that. You can only control you. So
Yeah.
it is tough out there. Like this, you moved. I can't go with you. I can't.
Right. Right.
So what am I supposed to do? We have to try and do our best.
Yeah. I think one last loss, if you'd say, I'm fine, I'm full, I don't need this. and we've referred to your accident multiple times in podcast, John, but that night, the accident happened after midnight, and you called me. You called me while they are, I think, while they were cutting Lindsay out of her seatbelt.
No, it wasn't until the hospital. I
Oh,
didn't.
okay. But you
Yeah.
called me. It seemed pretty right away, and I show up and we hang out and we do that thing together.
Mhm.
And one of the things when we decided to move is you said, I don't know who I would call now,
Yeah.
and you need someone you can call. So there's a loss you have, which of course you can't see coming.
No.
But when there is a fecal matter hits the fan in your life, it is super valuable to know who you'd call and that they would show up.
And that contributes so much to, I think, to anxiety and depression.
Mm,
Depression on an emotional, I'm alone.
yeah.
Anxiety on, there's no net beneath me. And that's why we see so much of this kind of, I think this is kind of boomer grandpa of me, but this adoration of a federal government, of safety nets in the government, because
Mm,
no, I don't have that in my family and friends anymore. No one's going to take care of me here. A coworker of Lindsay's just had a surgery, and she lives alone. And so it's like, what's she gonna do?
wow. Yeah.
She's a great person, has great friends. So she's been able to kind of patchwork this network together. But not everybody can do that.
Well, and we
So
see that happen to geriatrics. So, uh, my mom's 80, 82 or 83, and we have to keep sending people there because there's things she can't do by herself.
mhm,
And so that's a great example of it as well. All right, let's move to
yeah.
some action items, John.
Yeah, let's do it.
On And we're going to give you action items in every quarter, not because we expect you to do all the action items, but because we want to seed your brain with ideas so that something from this entire podcast you might go, I'm going to take action on that. That stirred something in me, and I'm going to do something. But
Yeah.
give us some thoughts, John, about this category to get started.
Yeah, first action item we would suggest is to that kind of relational audit I mentioned before. Name your current relational reality honestly, and without kind of wishful thinking
Yeah,
or really try and see what are the pieces on your relational board.
yeah. So if you feel lonely, or you're not lonely, or you have a lot, or you have a few, or you have some
Mhm.
but they're not super reliable, or whatever that reality is, name it. Second would be to identify where you're settling for surface level connection, and there could be more. So where in your sphere of relationships are you settling for surface rather than taking a chance for having more?
Yeah, I love that. Third, we would suggest make a decision for yourself that you're done doing life solo. And I think this would come best after one of those audits or inventories of your life.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to it doesn't tell you what to do next, but it tells you I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to live this way anymore. I think that's great. All right, let's skip quarter two now, which cast a vision here. What is a posse? And cast a little bit of vision why we think you should consider pursuing one. So, John, give us
Yeah.
a definition, like a short formal definition. What is a posse?
I was touching on it before, but this is good. How about I give mine, you give yours, and
Okay.
we can try and synthesize one.
All right.
It would be a group of men who have a agreed expectation, buy-in, and mission uh, with and towards each other. To
I
put
love
it
it.
in one sentence, yeah,
Yeah. I think shorter than that so I can try to remember it. It's a chosen brotherhood with shared responsibility.
nice,
So we're going to choose. Navy SEALs do this. We choose to leave no man behind. We choose to go in together, come out together. So that's the brotherhood part. Is we have a commitment to each other.
yeah,
So it's a chosen brotherhood, not random, not happenstance. We picked each other,
yeah,
and it has shared responsibility. So I think that's what we want you to start to have a vision for.
yeah. Well, the so my favorite part about this system, it took me you've been excited about this word for a while, and it
I
took me a
have.
minute to kind of come around on it. But my favorite part about the system is the explicit terms. So any guy with guy friends, you don't go. you don't have a DTR with your guy friends.
Right.
You don't sit down for coffee or go. You're at the batting cages. And you go, hey, what are we?
Yeah.
You know,
What are we doing?
what are we doing here? You're
Are
just
we just
friends.
having fun? Are
What I love about this is uh the well, okay, a few realizations. Again, pieces on the board.
okay.
You can't do life alone. You need
That's
there's a
it's a big that's really that decision from quarter one.
yeah,
I can't do it alone. I refuse to do it alone. I'm not going to
yeah.
settle for this.
It's a lot like, the steps addicts have to take. You have to
Yeah.
accept that
Yeah.
I'm powerless to do it. This is ruining my life and I'm powerless to stop it.
Yeah.
I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
So that's very specific to addicts, but it's just a human reality.
Yeah.
So then you have to go, okay, I need friends who are willing to be to go deeper than my normal friends do. So to be accountable, to be, there's a lot of stats on therapy and how it's marginally more or the same or marginally less effective than a brutally honest and accepting conversation with a friend or family
Yeah.
member.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the environment you're talking about. The problem is if you try to go that deep with a friend without explicitly stating the what it would be the boundaries of the friendship, it's not it's that's almost a violation of the boundaries is to just start dumping on this friend. So what I love about all that to say, I'm going in circles, but defining the posse, defining a group of friends to say, hey, when we're here, when we're at this weekly or monthly breakfast table or coffee, this is a one. Um, there's accountability. Almost most importantly, there is what's the word? Not secrecy, but
Confidentiality.
confidentiality. Thank you. There's confidentiality,
Yeah.
and we have decided we will not lie to each other. Things like that. And
Yeah.
when you lay it out, so you all have permission to do this.
And that's why it's chosen and shared.
Mhm.
So you choose who you're willing to do that with. And there's an agreement. We're going to both do this.
Yeah.
I've had a chosen group. Probably 15 years ago, I invited 10 guys to be a part of a 1 year journey. We met once a month. We communicated digitally once a month. We read books, but our meeting every month was, a couple hours long. And what was interesting was there were two guys who just did not participate in
Mhm.
any vulnerability or transparency. So the group called them to it and said, hey, you're sitting here quiet, which is okay at first, but now we're 4 months in and you still haven't told us a thing about you.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask you to get up or get out, get in or get out.
Yeah.
Because it's making me feel not safe. The fact that you won't show any vulnerability. So some guys, it made them anxious to have
Yeah.
that. So again, it's
And
chosen,
did they choose
shared.
to leave?
Yeah, they opted out.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Uh, the contrast to this, what we've talked about is normal friendships, and we talked about auditing those in the 1024.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make sure I believe in a space for the casual friendship. I don't need
Oh,
not everybody's got to be in the posse.
absolutely.
You don't need Doc Brown down the road to join you hunting down the Stinky Pete gang because he's old and he needs to stick around to stitch up the horses. You
Yeah,
know,
you might need him to heal up your wounds if Sneaky Pete
yeah,
gets one in on you.
exactly. If he gets the drop on you, if you're bushwhacked. Yeah. So I believe in those kind of relationships. Not everyone. You don't need to bring the whole level down to this kind of
If
depth.
you expect everyone who knows you to be in your posse, you're gonna crush them. Some are just not
Yeah.
ready for that or interested in it. So, but when it comes to your posse, we're not just talking about hanging out. We're not just talking about, well, we go out for coffee, once a week, and we talk about sports and stuff. And every once in a while, something meaningful comes up.
Mhm.
That's not a posse. So that's
Yeah.
just hanging out. That's venting. That's
Yeah.
convenient. We're talking about something that really has maybe a higher barrier to entry, John. I hadn't thought about that till right
No,
now.
absolutely it does.
It's got a higher barrier to entry because we're going to ask more of each other than the hangout buddies do.
Yeah.
So, we need you to show up if you say you'll show up. And
Yeah.
we need you to think and actually pray for me when I lay a burden on you or share a wound or whatever. So, um, why does it matter, John? Why does having this, we're saying we're casting a vision. Here's what it is. It is a chosen brotherhood with a shared responsibility toward each other, where we move in, not out, and we have confidentiality. And it doesn't mean that the subject matter has to be heavy every time we meet. It means that it
Mhm.
can be heavy,
Yeah.
and it's not a foul for it to be heavy. And we know what to do if it gets heavy. Why does it matter?
It matters because what I've said before is really the simple answer. You can't do life alone. But the reason it matters, the reasons why you can't do life alone, because you have an insane number of blind spots, way more than you think you
Mm-hmm.
do. You have you're only as sick as your secrets.
Mm-hmm.
I was recently made aware of a model called the Johari window. Are you familiar with this?
I love the Johari window.
Yeah.
I'm a
So
huge fan of the Johari
you
window.
probably even told me, and I forgot, like all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I should give you credit.
This
So
happens to dads all the time. You train up your child, and then some stranger refers to something you've been saying for 12 years, and your kid says, Dad, this guy's a genius, and he told me this. And then you just bite your lip and go, Man, I'm so glad you have a genius in your life,
playing the
John.
world's smallest violin right now.
Every dad knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, for the listeners, not for you, you're a Johari window expert. It's four quadrants,
Yeah.
and the top is things you know, and the going down is the things other people know. So there's one window that you know and everybody knows, and there's one window that only you know and nobody else knows.
You and God.
You and God. Then there's the one below. It'd be helpful if I drew this out, but the one below is things that people know about you that you don't know. And this is all about you, I should say. So things you know about you that everyone else knows, things that only you and God know, no one else knows, things that people know about you that you don't know, and then the dark quadrant, things nobody knows about you but God.
Only God knows. Yeah. And
So
think of those as four glass panes on a four-pane window.
thank you.
Yeah.
And actually, I should say, so the one that nobody knows but God, that's your. It was described to me as that's your subconscious.
Yeah.
So when you have things that no one else knows about you, they slowly sink down into the subconscious, and it starts to mess you up. This is where disorders come from, where abuse of substances in people come from. And the only way, basically, the healthier a person is the more things are in the central square, or the upper
Yeah.
leftmost
The
square.
stuff everybody knows.
So that, yeah, about you.
The bigger that is, that you, God, and people know,
Yeah.
the healthier you are.
And so the beauty of this posse is that if you went to an anonymous, this is why AA works, right? I'm not to knock AA, but if you went to AA, you've basically brought people into your secret box, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily bringing your secrets into the open box.
Right. Right.
With a posse, you are living truthfully.
Yeah.
You are living in the open with these friends. So
Yeah.
that's why this matters. That's why you need this.
Yeah. And when you are known, you can stay grounded. You're harder to move. You're harder to deceive. You're harder to tempt because you're grounded, because you are known. And the more known I am, the higher the stakes are for me to compromise that. And so I anchor myself more powerfully when I am known.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say the last thing is you recover quicker when you
Yeah,
stop hiding. So you are only as sick as your secrets, and you have quicker recovery, more rapid recovery when you are known.
yeah, absolutely. Should we get into some action items?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll start. First, we should say an action item for this quarter is to write down your definition of the kind of brotherhood you want. Again, clarity, clarity, clarity.
Yeah.
I'm often paranoid that maybe someone out there is just more mentally organized than I am, and they don't need to do stuff like this. But I don't think so. I think this would be a huge first step.
Yeah. And boy, the more specific you can be, the better.
Yeah,
The second is identify the gap then between your current reality and that thing you just wrote down. Like, how big a gap is this between here and there?
it's awesome. And then commit to pursuing depth and not just activity with that group of brotherhood that you want.
Yeah.
So
And we're
again,
going to
not
give you some.
yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
only yeah, that it's not a it's more than just a golfing group or a hunting group.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And we're going to give you some very practical tips in quarter four on how to get started doing this. So hold on tight because we're going to get there. It's halftime, John. And I just want to start before we get into our book recommendations. I just want to point out the Colorado Avalanche swept the first series. They are now relaxing by the pool, waiting for the survivor of the Dallas Stars Minnesota Wild series, which I hope goes to all 7 games, so that whoever advances against the Avs is exhausted and wounded, so that the Avs can make quick work of them. So,
And surely you want the Stars to make it so you can beat the Stars and rub it in your brother's face, I
well,
assume.
my brother, he's so emotionally attached to Dallas victories that I hate to see him hurt. He's hurting so bad when they lose that I can't pile on.
You can't even rub it in.
No, so I won't.
You're
But
soft.
I will celebrate. I mean, I will
Yeah,
celebrate that.
you gotta.
Yeah. Okay. Book time, John. We gonna every week we recommend a book to you because we want you to be readers. My book is a very odd recommendation. It's not actually a recommendation. It's just a book I wanted you to know about. But John, you go first. Give us a book recommendation.
All right. I had to go classic golden western. None of this skeptical
Is
neo
there a posse in
western.
this story?
There sure is. This is 310 to Yuma by
Ooh,
Elmore Leonard.
great movie.
A collection of short stories, actually. So
Oh,
even the 310 to Yuma part's only 30 pages or something like that.
oh,
Um, Terrific movie. I've only seen the modern one, the Christian Bale, Russell Crowe one.
there's an older one?
There is, yeah.
I didn't
Right
know
after
that.
that book came out, I think in the 50s, and there's one right after that.
Mm.
Elmore Leonard is the man. I have a short list of authors where if I see anything they've written in a Goodwill, I don't need to know a dang thing about it. I pick it up and I take it to the cash register and I buy it. That's Elmore Leonard.
You
He,
know you're a successful author when your books are at the Goodwill.
yeah, that's true. A lot of guys I can't find there.
Yeah.
He wrote. His most famous thing is Justified. He wrote the short story that the show
Oh,
Justified is based off of.
wow.
He lived to be almost 100. He was in his 90s. He died in the 20s or late teens.
Wow.
Really, he switched. He started off writing golden era westerns like this one, and then switched to contemporary crime stories. Tons of which were made into movies: Kill Shot, Get Shorty, um, and then the Justified stuff. So he's very snappy. His I talked about Stephen King's on writing. Elmore Leonard's on writing is hilarious.
Oh, he
He
has a
says
book about writing?
he does, and it's really funny. I've talked too much, so I'll save it for later. But he's a great writer.
I need to get that his book on writing. I'd love to have that.
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
There's you'd like one that's illustrated. It has all these cartoons of him as an old man as he talks about his writing advice.
That's
You'd like it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, the book I'm going to tell you about is called Jim Allen Ladd by Sarah Slaughter.
Oh my gosh.
This is a book. When I was a youth pastor in Dallas, one of the girls in our middle school had an assignment to write a biography about someone. So she wrote about me. And it's hardback. And she has this book is dedicated to her friend, her best friend. And it's Jim Allen Ladd, Youth Pastor by Sarah Slaughter. And she has all this stuff about me. And then she has a bunch of pictures. So she shows pictures of Julie, was our only child at the
Oh my
time,
word.
and Sue and I. And then here's a picture of me at a youth party dressed up. It was a Halloween party.
Who are you
Uh,
as?
I was just a cool high school kid. I just
Oh,
went,
yeah.
yeah,
That should have been obvious to me.
yeah. So, and this is Sue at a sock hop we did. So she just made this book, and I tell you, it this is one of my most prized possessions. For someone to take this effort
No kidding.
and do this. So I was going through my bookcases today, thinking about what book I would talk about, and I saw this one again, and I thought I just have to tell this story because it reinforces not only the need for posses, but the need for intergenerational uh, community.
Mhm.
Um, I got a text on Sunday night. We had a high school kids at our house, and a young man, single man, helps me with that group. And he texted me afterwards and said, "Man, if I had a group like this when I was in high school, and my 20s would have gone totally differently, my early
Mm.
20s." And so, man, not only do you need this, but you have a lot to offer to people, particularly other generations, um, to let them in your posse too. So
That's
there's your sales
incredible,
pitch.
man.
Yeah.
That's really good.
All right, let's talk about the barrier, John. Why men don't get started. This will be a short discussion, and then we'll jump into quarter four, which is let's get on some action here. We're going to give you some actionable steps that really will help you say, this might not be impossible. I think
Mhm.
I can actually do this.
Yeah, so a few different reasons. But the biggest obstacle normally we don't think is opportunity, as in candidates for this kind of relationship. It's hesitation in the fields of what is expected of men. What is really definitionally what is a good man? So a big one for me right at the top, I would say, I think I had a conversation. My closest facsimile to this kind of group is a weekly Bible study, and we were talking about this kind of rooted financial conversation that which we've had in the past,
Mm,
and about retirement and a
mm,
different kind of retirement. And the dads in the group, a few young dads, talked about not wanting to be burdens. They said obviously you like talk in the about retirement planning.
yeah,
Their goal is to never be a burden on their kids,
yeah.
and that's being a prudent dad. But partly for the sakes of this conversation, being a burden is underrated.
Mm,
If I went to this Bible study and I my goal was to not be burdensome, that was my top priority of the whole friendship and the whole
yeah,
relationship.
yeah,
It would be I'd be undercutting myself. I'd be undercutting them, because I think our culture has brainwash is a strong word, but burdensome becomes the worst sin a man could commit. It would be better for you to be toxic and oppressive than to actually have someone have to carry your crap for you. So that's the umbrella barrier I see for a lot of men with this kind of relationship.
I think that is awesome. So set the ego part aside because a lot of guys egotistically would say, I don't want to look like I'm a wuss. I don't want to look like I'm incompetent. I don't want people to see how stupid I've been with money and now I'm in a money pinch. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want people to realize I don't know how to fix my toilet. So there's ego there, but
Yeah.
set that aside because I think the bigger obstacle is the hesitation to to be needy or have somebody help you. But
Mm-hmm.
there's beauty. I was while you were talking, I was seeing the different facets of beauty around needing someone's help.
Yeah.
So there's beauty in you because you recognize that you do live in a world where you are not sufficient for everything you're going to face. That's a fact. So there's beauty in discovering that and walking in the humility of that and finding the value of community. There's beauty in being the contributor. Um, and we know this, but those of us who don't like to be given to still realize how fun it is when somebody has a need that we met.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rewarding. It's
Yeah.
gratifying. So there's beauty there. There's beauty in the onlooker, the family. Like let's say if you have kids or onlookers, community around you, and they watch people resource together to meet your need. There's beauty there. So I keep thinking about the conversation you had with our buddy Jonathan about ultimate reality. To deny this is to deny ultimate reality
Yeah.
because we think I don't need anyone, but ultimate reality is yes, you do. You are needy, and God is sufficient. He's ultimately sufficient. And let your brothers help you find God's sufficiency, sometimes through them and sometimes just on his own, miraculously.
Yeah.
But it's just saturated with beauty.
Yeah. Man, I love that. A few. So I want to make mention of, especially for really younger, like Gen Z men.
Yeah.
I would say, there's a barrier of social skill also,
Mm,
or at least perceived social skill,
yeah.
where you would think, man, I don't know, I don't want to walk up to these guys I don't know very well and stutter out a proposition of brotherhood.
Yeah.
You had a great point in our 1024 about starting. It doesn't have to be that big at first. You can just start, say, hey, do you want to get coffee? It can be that
Yep.
simple.
Yep.
I would say that's a different barrier for a lot of men. And assuming that the social bandwidth of others is too tight. I don't want to impose because everyone's so busy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, you know, put a strain on that. So I'll just wait for things to happen naturally. And then that's when we talk a lot about drift. That's when 5 years go by and you still don't have a friend.
And yeah, I've got a buddy. We've got a lot of young men in our church world here, And, so I've got a couple of them that are um, really socially awkward. Like
Mm,
eye contact's not easy for them. Thinking on their feet, responding socially, understanding social cues, not some strengths like you just described. And boy, COVID exaggerated all that.
mhm.
But I'm thinking of two guys in particular. To their credit, they scheduled a time to have coffee with me. They sat down, and boy, they walked in almost with like notes and an agenda. And they sat down, they dove into their agenda because they don't know how to make small talk. They told me what's on their mind, the battle that they're facing or the struggle they're facing. What would you advise me? Give me some thoughts. I gave some thoughts, and then they said, "Thank you for your time." And so it was not smooth the first time,
Yeah.
and that is totally cool
Yeah.
because you have, if you wait for it to come naturally, you're going to be waiting maybe for the rest of your life. So uh, yeah.
Yeah. So help me reframe some of those barriers then into something constructive for this conversation.
Well, I think you'd have to confess that waiting is passive avoidance. So this is hard. This intimidates me. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it. I'm not sure people are interested. I'm not
Mhm.
sure that any of the guys that I would choose would have any interest in this or the time. So this avoidance is actually passivity. You are refusing to take action. Years ago, a guy I knew went to some kind. I don't even know what this thing was, but it was some kind of. They spent a day and a half in a hotel ballroom, and they talk about life. I think it was to help people become socially connected and more emotionally honest.
Hmm.
And it's all private. You are not supposed to tell anybody what went on in this ballroom for the whole day and a half.
Okay.
But he did. He told me a couple things. And one of them was every time you spoke, you had to stand up. The chairs are in a circle. It's a small group. It's like 15 people. And every time anyone spoke, they had to stand up to speak. So it's teaching you to take responsibility for what you want to say
Hmm.
and having the courage to say it. And one of the exercises they did is they told the facilitator said, okay, there's 12 of you in the group. You're all in a boat. The boat's sinking, and the lifeboat only seats 11. It is impossible to get all 12 in there and survive. So your job is to stand up and explain why you should be one of the 11. And
Wow.
every person in the group stood up and said, I've had a great life. They're younger. They've got kids, blah, blah, blah. They explained why they should not be in the group.
Right.
And this is what we do. And the truth is, if that boat's sinking and you're looking at drowning, you would fight for a seat. But
Hmm.
until then, you rationalize and justify, and you think you're thinking virtuously.
Right.
But actually, what you're saying is, my life is not worth fighting for. My life isn't worth somebody else's inconvenience. And so you actually have a culture. He called that a culture of death. You have a
Hmm.
death culture about yourself. And so that's one of the common barriers is an illusion that we would convince ourselves we're being virtuous by being humble and not needy. And the truth is, we just don't think we're worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And that's a real problem.
Well, and even, apart from the boat metaphor, because that's so scarce, that's a
Yeah.
zero sum game.
Yeah.
In this relational context, it's not zero sum. So when you are willing to open up like that and overcome your own embarrassment, you are opening up the eventuality that you enrich someone else's life.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, even, if you were to say, oh, I'll be virtuous and I won't put all my crap on some other guy's shoulders. Well, now you can't shoulder his crap too.
Right.
Now you're both alone and miserable. Congrats.
And my two awkward buddies, both of them have gone out of their way to add value to my life since those relationships began. And they do so with just a awkward affirmation. You mean a lot to me. Thank you for your time. I know your time
Yeah.
is valuable. And they tell me how much my presence matters in their life. So they are contributing back, which is a natural process when you've been contributed to.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. So uh, here's the thing. Let's give a little reframe here, and then we'll dive into some action ideas.
Yeah.
You're not being needy, you're being intentional. So, what you're saying is men need this, and I'm not the only one that needs it. So I'm gonna try to build it because the people I'm gonna build it with need it too. So you reframe that not as a selfish, I need people around me to take care of me because I have needs. You're saying men need friends men need a posse, and I'm willing to be a part of one.
Yeah.
So that reframes it from the I'm looking for people to be my band aid to no, I've got a first aid kit too,
Yeah.
and I want to bring it.
That's huge. All right. Let's do some action items then
Okay, let's do
for
it.
this quarter. First, I would say is to name your top excuse for avoiding this kind of relationship and challenge it directly.
That's a great point. Which will force you to put into words why you're not doing it,
Right.
and then challenge argue with yourself why that's
Yeah.
not a valid thing. Secondly, decide one small step that you've been avoiding because it scares you or it's inconvenient or it's awkward. What is one small step you've been avoiding, and name it out loud.
I love that. And then rehearse the invite. I love this,
I do
especially
too.
if you're on the more socially nervous side
Mm-hmm.
of things. Rehearse in your head in advance what you're going to say. Easy
That's
peasy.
great. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's move in. Now let's get some real grind here. This is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to help you start simple, start small, and start now. How do I build a posse? So let's get going, John. Where do you want to start with this?
I would say it starts. We're going from internal to external,
Yeah.
but it does start internal. Starts with that decision. So decided to go first. A lot of times this happens after a kind of rock bottom where you're in so
Hmm.
much pain of loneliness that man, I'll overcome any kind of discomfort I had before because I need friends. A lot of in our local young adult ministry, which has been doing really well. A lot of people showing up said, "Man, it is physically painful to walk into a room of people where I don't know anybody,
So
but it's
hard.
so much worse to be alone."
Yeah.
So that's no small thing. Ideally, you could maybe I mean that's not a bad thing. It's not like they waited too long. It's good
Hmm.
that they're there, but maybe you could make this resolution before you are in that level of anguish.
Yeah. So the decision is I'm going to go first. I'm going
Yeah,
to initiate. Secondly, we would say identify one, two, or three men. You don't need 10. You don't need 15. You don't need nine. You don't need six. How about one, two, or three?
yeah,
And just identify them. Think about all the men you know. And it doesn't matter how well you know them, but that they would recognize you if you walked up. Who all is in there. You know more people than you think you do. And identify maybe one to three that you would say, I'm going to start right there. Uh, and extend an invitation, um, which would be your next step, is to
yeah.
create an invitation.
Yeah. Uh let's get super super in the weeds.
Okay.
What would that invite look like? So because I'm just imagining the like for myself, the dread I would have to walk up to a guy I don't know that well. Like you said, have
Mm-hmm.
some familiarity. Um and not you don't want to again, you don't want to look needy. You don't want to look awkward
Right.
or pull out a note card and hello, sir or madam, and read the thing. So could you
Yeah.
give me like a example
Yeah. So
invite?
this would be my rehearsed speech. I've used it before. Hey, um, I know I don't know you that well, and you don't know me very well, but I watch you and I like what I see. So I was wondering if you'd be willing to have a cup of coffee or a Coke and sit down and have a 45-minute conversation with me. I will bring all the questions I want to ask, and I would just like 40 minutes, 45 minutes of your time. Is that possible? Would you have interest in that? And so that's how I would extend the invitation. It wouldn't be, I'm looking for a committed group of men to have shared responsibility who choose each other. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
that. It wouldn't be that. Um, I'm making it could even be this. I'm pushing myself to meet men I don't know and to learn more about their story.
Yeah.
So that's an even better on board. So could I have 45 minutes of your time, 30, 45 minutes? I'd like to hear your story and I'll have the questions ready.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to do that?
And I would say a slight tangent, but another option. If you have very few casual acquaintances that this would make sense for, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
like this environment, this situation that you're describing doesn't fit, you could totally start with just an activity. Hey, you got a
Go to
Mariners hat
Top
on?
Golf. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go to the cages or you want to go driving range? You can totally start with something like that to build some of those, and then go, further
You
from there.
sure? Yeah, absolutely you can. And one thing about men at church, like let's say these are guys at your church, men at church are not surprised by an invitation to get to know somebody else at church.
Yeah.
We put ourselves in a community, and so it's a less invasive question when you're already in a spot of community. So that's a good place to start is in your church. It could be a person in your company or at work that you admire who may be a notch above you, or they're beside you, but you just admire their skills or their
Hmm.
personality, whatever. Uh, that'd be, but having somebody in a context helps a lot.
Yeah.
So, so then, you give this invitation for a driving range or go to a ball game. I'll buy the tickets or go to coffee or something. Uh, um, I think that come prepared is what I would say, with some questions to ask and finish that if you feel inclined, maybe not after the first meeting. Hey, could we do this one more time? And if not, that's the beauty. That's the whole Sleepless in Seattle. When he starts to date again after his wife has died, what dinner? I don't want dinner. I want drinks. That way, if drinks go well, you can say, "Want to go to dinner?" But if
Mm.
drinks are not going well, you can say, "Hey, this has been fun," and you can leave. So make it short. There's no obligation to do more of them. But if it goes well, have another one. If that goes well, then you can say, "Hey, I've got this idea." Um, and I'm curious if you have any interest in it, if you've ever had any experience with something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My the consistency. So once you're actually in this, again, if we're um talking about getting in the weeds, consistency is huge. You had a line that I loved on the 10-4 about if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
yeah.
And so like if you have these kinds of casual acquaintances at church, you're familiar with this where, oh, we should get together and do this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My people will call your people.
Yep. Then next week, then the next week, then the next week, and
Yeah,
then it's in that drift. So explicit consistency. How do Fridays work for you if you want to do weekly? Or how does the last Saturday of the month work for you if you're doing monthly? Something that's that the expectations are that clear.
yeah. Do you prefer a 6 a.m. breakfast before we both go to work on a work day? That way, we're
Yeah.
not taking time from your family. What do you prefer? I'll try to make it happen. John, you have this and a putting something on the table. Here's a book I've been wanting to read. I'm curious if you'd be
Yeah.
interested in reading it, and we can talk about it each week when we meet. We could like read a chapter a week. I'm trying to push myself to read more. Maybe you'd be interested in that. So the consistency can be wrapped around a book or a purpose. Your guys that meet in the I call it the barn group, but it's not a barn; it's a workshop.
No. Yeah.
But your barn buddies.
We meet at their table now.
Oh, you do.
Yeah. In the summer we'll do outside, but so maybe tomorrow's supposed to be nice. But
So how many guys are in that group?
between like 6 or 7, I think.
Okay, let's say seven. And here's something that's going to be very common, very normal. How many of those guys are looking for a posse, and how many of those guys are just kind of enjoying the ride? They don't, they don't open up as deep, and they don't look to be opened up to as deep. They're just enjoying what it brings. Am I making sense with my
Yeah,
question?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've thought about this because part of my and maybe you can help me with this as far as it seems sometimes like it'd be easier to create this from shallower friendships than
Yeah.
to ask a good friend already who you don't actually open up with to now, hey, do you want to change the terms of our relationship where we're going to be vulnerable for each
Yeah.
other and
Yeah.
accountable? That's almost harder than starting from scratch. So a lot of we've all known each other a really long time, so it's probably over half. I bet you
Probably
maybe
four of the seven.
yeah, 4 or 5.
Would
And
yeah.
I'm part of the problem there too. I don't necessarily pour my guts out of that table. And partly because that wasn't the expressed that's not the point of that table as
What
such.
would you say is the shared responsibility that people have? What's the social contract there?
That's the study. It's all of us looking at the study with the book
Okay.
we read. But I mean, and it devolves very quickly, or evolves, however you want to look at it, into life talk,
Yeah.
movies you've seen. We've prayed for each other. It's not a sterile environment.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's an accountability group or anything like that.
So this is what we're getting to with these kind of this with these questions, John, and the group you have. is that you don't have to go from zero to intense posse of vulnerability, transparency, and radical commitment to each other.
Yeah.
That's not only naive, that's creepy.
Yeah.
So it needs to go slow, and there's no race, and it's simple. And structure can be added over time, where you go, hey, we've been hanging out. What if we did this?
Yeah.
What if we added a book here? What if we said we're going to answer even two questions? I had groups of guys that I had lunch with for 7 years every week, and our structure was super simple. We would have lunch together on a work day. We'd meet at a Wendy's or wherever we agreed to meet, Slotsky's, Chipotle, whatever, and we would talk about our day, our life, our families, whatever. And then I would have a question of the day, and we would just
Mm.
talk about that question. So, it doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be super hard. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then once you're there, I wouldn't be disheartened when, if it in a group setting, when some guys drop off. That happened in this group.
Mm-hmm.
All guys that we all love, and their schedules didn't permit it. Or for one guy got another commitment that he couldn't say no to that fell on that same day.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally just the time didn't match up. So it started with probably closer to 10 and kind of whittled down to the guys that have the time and are
Yeah.
willing to dedicate. So I wouldn't don't be discouraged if that happens, or if it takes time, like we were just saying, the different levels of relational depth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, being okay with the fact that you have to live into those kinds of relationships.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add there is embrace the suck. If it's
Yeah,
awkward, it's okay that it's awkward.
yeah,
So let it don't shut down just because you had one awkward time, or this is not natural to anybody yet. It's
totally.
okay if it feels forced at first. Don't give up on it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. What would you say about having a vision for that, John? Like, if I'm just going to start with a couple of guys, or one, or we're going to do a book, or we're going to start with a coffee, hey, what if five of us, I had this in Olympia for a while, every Tuesday morning, a group of us met at a Starbucks to have coffee, and it was gender neutral, and is that the right word?
As in, yeah, yeah,
Gender diverse,
sure, yeah,
and it was intergenerational. But what we agreed to do was, we would just have coffee every Tuesday morning, and one person would take turns bring in a scripture passage to read to us,
nice.
and then we would just share if we had any thoughts about it. That was it. And we shared prayer requests, and we prayed for each other. Powerful, just really, really awesome.
Yeah,
So, uh, have a vision for, I think we could connect deeper than we currently do. I think I could not be alone. I think I could offer something that's life giving to whoever would come.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's part of a so there's a vision for the group, which again, it doesn't have to be that dramatic. It could be just like you just explained. But really, for me, it's almost of it's you're pushing back against isolation in a way that you're taking the reins. So you
Mm-hmm.
have a vision for yourself. I'm going to take this seriously. That I believe that drift is a real thing. I look back and I can see it in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't do that anymore. So that's I might be misusing the word vision there. But that's what kind of comes to mind as far as an act. I talk about it every week. I feel like an act of the will, a high act of the will,
Yep.
that I'm going to decide to do these things and ask if others are willing to do that with me,
I love
even in
that.
something modest, like the group you described, which I think is beautiful. I
Yeah.
love my group, my Wednesday group that I've described. I feel like I didn't do them justice. It's maybe the highlight of my week. We're definitely one of them. I love that group.
Well, I watch you get ready to go if we're on the phone and you're headed there. I hear you talk about it. I know it's a meaningful connection to you.
Yeah,
So let's give three action items, and these are going to be like, hey, we want you to do this. If you have any interest in giving this a shot, we have three action items we really want you to consider.
yeah, yeah. First would be send one text within the
I'm
next
about to
day.
sneeze.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
Send one text in the next day. I love a shorter window than that because I just things fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
So I would do. You got your phone in your hand right now. I bet you already do. I can see you right there. You got your phone in your hand.
Put
Send a
it
text
down while you're
now.
driving.
Yeah, got a podcast here. Driving. Got my phone there. Send that text. I think for most people, we want to equip people who are dreadfully alone.
Yeah.
I really really want to help with those people. I feel like a person's already on the top of their mind for this conversation. Text that person. Do it now.
Yeah. The action step is within 24 hours, but let's say within 4 hours.
Yeah, for me, I would need to do it now, or I'm going to forget.
That you will. That's true. Do it now. Okay. Do it now. Secondly, set up your first meeting, a date, time, and place with that person, and maybe two or three people. But, uh, go ahead and pick a time on your calendar before the text. And hey, I would like to get together and have a conversation with a couple of guys, and I want you to be one of them. Would you
Yeah.
be willing to meet me at this place at this time for this long? And that way you have it set up. Your calendar's already blocked for it. You know where you'll go,
Mhm.
and you can plan what you'll do between now and that date. But figure out the place, time, date, and send the text now.
And then contingent on that, we would say you got to follow through. Even if it's just two of you, or
Mm-hmm.
a lot of introverts get this way where you get kind of swept up and excited in the idea, and you make the plan, but then when it's actually time to go, you're like, man, it'd be so nice. I've never had a thing get canceled that I wasn't thrilled it got canceled.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
uh, so a lot of guys get that way, but you got to follow through. You'll be glad you did. Um, uh, Break that ice, and even if it's just two of you, groups can be easier sometimes.
mm-hmm.
But like those gentlemen you described who were brave enough, and it got easier for them over time.
Yep. Two's enough. Three's powerful. Just get started.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Hey, tonight is the Honest Path Town Hall. So jump online with us. It's at 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Pacific. And we will send a text out with the Zoom link 1 hour before start time. So watch for that. Tell a buddy. Last month was incredible. We had a very intergenerational group. Guys started encouraging each other. It was super incredible. So, man, be there. We hope to see you tonight at 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 Pacific. One more thing, John. We got another book coming out. Um, so we just want to tease that a little bit. We want you to be watching. Super excited about this project. I would say what are we, John? Maybe 75%, 80% done?
Maybe, yeah, yeah. Hard to say. You have a firmer grip on the project than I do, but so far very excited about that. It's a lot about this. It's a lot about relationships.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Yep.
entirely about relationships,
Yeah.
but yeah, do not if tonight you go, I'd rather watch the Avs game if there is one. Don't do that. Join us on this thing. Last month was incredible, and there is a even if this would be better in person, there is valuable community here over the screen. So we'd love if you joined
Absolutely.
us.
And so we hope to see you there. We have a lot of things cooking that are going to be more opportunities to connect relationally, to be a part of things that happen. We're super excited about what we think is starting to bubble to the surface about what we're doing, gaining clarity and stuff. So lots to talk about. Hope to see you tonight. Thanks for joining the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. God loves you. The world needs you, and we're on your team.